and detaining them further would cause diplomatic problems. But you're right, the station's main conference hall was packed. Word had spread about the human scanner incident, and now representatives from 24 species wanted answers. Commander Hyunwoo stood at the podium, trying to maintain order as voices filled the room in multiple languages. "This is ridiculous," shouted a Threll merchant, his tentacles waving in agitation. "I've worked with humans for years. They're harmless. This whole thing is a waste of time." "Harmless?" countered a veteran council member. "Their own planet classified as a death world and you call them harmless? What's a death world?" someone called from the back. Before the argument could escalate further, the doors opened and a human woman entered. She was older, perhaps 50 years by human standards, with gray streaks in her black hair and a confident stride. She wore the formal uniform of a coalition diplomat. "Hanul," Hyunwoo said with obvious relief. "Thank you for coming." Hanul was the senior human diplomat stationed at Harmony 7. She had been on leave when the scanner incident began, but Hyunwoo had called her back urgently. Now she walked to the podium and looked out at the assembled crowd with calm amusement. "I understand there's some concern about humans being dangerous," she said, her voice carrying easily through the room. "Let me address this directly. We're not. We're traders, explorers, researchers. We've been peaceful members of the coalition for 40 years. The scanner malfunction is interesting, but it doesn't change who we are." "Then explain the Death World classification," demanded the veteran council member. Hanul smiled. "Ah, yes. Earth. Would you like me to explain, or should I let the expert do it?" She gestured to the side door, and a Kelthian walked in. Seojun was well known in academic circles as a xenoanthropologist who specialized in predator species evolution. He was tall, even for a Kelthian, with bronze skin and the distinctive ridge patterns of his species. He carried a data tablet and looked eager to share his research. "Thank you for inviting me, Diplomat Hanul," Seojun said formally. He connected his tablet to the conference room's display system. "I've been studying human evolution for 3 years now. What I've learned is both fascinating and, I admit, somewhat disturbing." The room fell silent. Everyone leaned forward. "Let me start with a simple question," Seojun began. "How many of you have hunted for food?" A few hands went up, mostly from species classified as predators. "How many of you have been hunted?" Different hands rose, mostly from prey species. "Humans," Seojun said quietly, "have experienced both, extensively." He activated the display. Images of Earth appeared, showing vast grasslands. Early humans were persistence hunters. They didn't have the speed to catch prey quickly, so they simply followed it. For hours, for days if necessary, they tracked animals across enormous distances until their prey collapsed from exhaustion. A video played showing a human jogging steadily across a hot plain. The timestamp showed hours passing. The human never stopped. "Most predators hunt in bursts of speed," Seojun explained. "They sprint, catch their prey, and rest. Humans don't work that way. They have incredible endurance. They can maintain a steady pace for hours because they evolved an unusual cooling system. They sweat. They dump excess heat through their skin, which allows them to keep moving when other animals must stop. That's why they're always leaking fluids," muttered someone in the audience, which got a few nervous laughs. "But here's the interesting part," Seojun continued. "Humans were also prey. Large predators hunted them, so they developed prey species traits. Excellent pattern recognition, strong social bonds for group defense, high awareness of their surroundings. They can sense when they're being watched." He showed images of human eyes. Forward-facing eyes for depth perception like a predator, but exceptional peripheral vision like prey. They're designed to hunt and to avoid being hunted. Young me, sitting in the front row, added her own observation. "Their bodies are weak by galactic standards. Average strength, average speed. No natural armor or weapons. But their endurance is extraordinary. They heal quickly. They resist diseases aggressively. They adapt to extreme temperatures. They're designed for long-term survival, not immediate dominance." Seojun nodded. "Exactly. Now let me show you something else." He displayed a chart showing temperature ranges. Most species in the coalition evolved on planets with stable climates, variations of perhaps 10 to 20 degrees over the course of a year. Earth's temperature variations can exceed 50 degrees in a single location between seasons. Humans built civilizations in deserts where daytime temperatures reach levels that would kill most species. They also built civilizations in Arctic regions where nighttime temperatures would freeze most species solid. "They adapt their environment," someone called out. Shelters, clothing, heating systems. That's not impressive. That's basic technology. True, Seogen agreed. But they also adapt themselves. Human bodies can acclimatize to new environments within weeks. Send a human from a cold climate to a hot one, and their metabolism adjusts. Their sweat production changes. Their blood vessels dilate differently. They're biologically flexible in ways that would require genetic modification for most species. Hanil spoke up from the side. I was born on Earth, in a mountain region where winter temperatures regularly drop to -20 degrees Celsius. I now live on this station where temperature is controlled at 22 degrees. My body adapted to both environments naturally. That's normal for humans. How? Asked a thrill scientist. How is that possible without medical intervention? Evolution, Seogen said simply. Earth created extreme survival pressure. Humans either adapted or died. The ones who survived passed on genes for adaptability. Over thousands of generations, humans became the most flexible species on their planet. He showed new images now. Predators from Earth, massive creatures with teeth and claws. Humans shared their planet with apex predators far larger and stronger than themselves. This creature is called a bear. It weighs 3 times what a human weighs and has claws that can tear through flesh easily. Humans survived alongside these creatures for millennia. How? Someone asked, horrified. Tools, cooperation, intelligence, Seogen answered. Humans couldn't overpower a bear, so they avoided them, outsmarted them or killed them from a distance with weapons. And here's something remarkable. When humans couldn't avoid dangerous animals, they domesticated them. He showed images of wolves and dogs. This is a wolf, an apex predator. Humans turned them into companions. They did the same with horses, cattle, even birds of prey. They formed pack bonds with other species, including predators. It's unprecedented. The room was buzzing now with confused conversation. Anna let them process the information before speaking again. I know this sounds dramatic, she said calmly. But from a human perspective, this is just normal life. We don't think of ourselves as special or dangerous. We're just doing what we've always done, surviving and adapting. Daehyun stood up from where he'd been sitting in the back. Diplomat Hanul, I have a question. We've classified humans as low danger for 40 years. Has that classification been wrong? No, Hanul said firmly. We are low danger. We don't seek conflict. We prefer cooperation in trade. But low danger doesn't mean helpless. It means we choose not to be dangerous unless we have no other choice. A correlation security officer raised his hand. There's a human on my security team, Sung-hoon. Nice guy, always makes everyone laugh. Last month, our ship had a hull breach. Everyone got to safety except Sung-hoon. He was closest to the breach when it happened. By the time we sealed it and got back to him, he'd been exposed to vacuum for nearly 30 seconds. The room went silent. Exposure to hard vacuum was fatal for most species within 5 seconds. He survived. The correlation officer continued, his voice awed. He was unconscious, but he survived. The medics couldn't believe it. They said his body had shut down non-essential systems automatically, and his lungs had expelled air properly to prevent damage. He was back to work 3 days later. Hanul nodded. That's actually not that unusual for humans. We can survive brief vacuum exposure if rescue comes quickly. Our bodies have emergency responses for extreme situations. That would kill me instantly, whispered a Threll merchant. It would kill most species instantly, Seogen confirmed. But humans evolved on a planet that constantly tried to kill them in creative ways. Lack of oxygen? They can hold their breath for several minutes. Extreme pressure changes? Their bodies can adjust to a degree. Radiation exposure? They have some natural resistance. None of these adaptations make them invincible, but they have a chance of survival in situations that would mean certain death for others. Youngmi stood up, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. This is why the scanner fails. It's trying to categorize a species that evolved to be uncategorizable. Humans are simultaneously weak and resilient, intelligent and instinctive, predator and prey, social and independent. The scanner needs clear classifications, but humans are contradictions. So what do we do? Asked the veteran council member. How do we classify them? Why do we need to? Hanil asked simply. We've been living and working alongside dozens of species for 40 years without incident. The scanner's confusion doesn't change our behavior or our intentions. We're still the same humans, W. 3 days after the conference, life on Harmony 7 had almost returned to normal. The human traders had completed their business and departed. The scanner issue had been logged and forwarded to the Coalition Council. Daehyun was reviewing routine security reports when the alarm sounded, not the gentle chime of a docking request. This was the sharp, urgent blare of a military alert. "Commander Hyunwoo to all stations," the announcement echoed through the corridors. "We have an unscheduled arrival. Kryn battlecruiser approaching. All personnel to defensive positions." This is not a drill. Daehyun's blood went cold. The Kryn Empire was technically part of the Coalition, but they were aggressive expansionists who used intimidation and threats to get what they wanted. A Kryn battlecruiser meant trouble. He rushed to the command center where Hyunwoo was already coordinating with security teams. On the main display, a massive ship hung in space near the station. It dwarfed every other vessel in the area, bristling with weapons that could reduce Harmony 7 to debris in minutes. "They're hailing us," reported the communications officer. "Put them through," Hyunwoo said. His voice steady despite the tension. A Kryn commander appeared on the screen. He was enormous, easily 3 meters tall, with thick armored skin and 4 powerful arms. His species had evolved as apex predators on a high-gravity world, and they looked every bit as dangerous as their reputation suggested. "Harmony 7, the Kryn commander rumbled. "I am Commander Drakvin. We require immediate docking priority and favorable trade terms for Kryn merchants. You will comply." It wasn't a request. It was a threat wrapped in minimal politeness. Hyunwoo kept his expression neutral. "Commander Drakvin, welcome to Harmony 7. We would be happy to discuss trade terms through proper diplomatic channels. However, docking priority must be scheduled in advance for vessels of your size." "You misunderstand," Drakvin interrupted, his voice dropping to a growl. "This is not a negotiation. Kryn vessels will receive priority docking and reduced fees. Other species will adjust their schedules accordingly. You have 1 hour to implement these changes, or we will implement them ourselves." The threat was clear. Comply or face military action. Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. "Commander, I must respectfully decline. This station operates under Coalition regulations that apply equally to all species. I cannot give preferential treatment." "Then you choose conflict," Drakvin said flatly. "We have destroyed stations for less." 1 hour, Commander. Choose wisely." The screen went dark. The command center erupted in worried conversation. Daehyun felt his hands shaking. He'd dealt with aggressive merchants and even the occasional pirate, but a Kryn battlecruiser was something entirely different. The station's defenses were designed to handle small threats, not military warships. "What do we do?" asked Minji, her voice tight with fear. Hyunwoo was silent for a long moment, staring at the massive ship on the screen. "We evacuate non-essential personnel to the emergency shuttles. We send a distress signal to Coalition security, and we hope they arrive before Drakvin loses patience." "Coalition security is 4 hours away at best," Daehyun said quietly. "We don't have 4 hours." As security teams began coordinating the evacuation, Daehyun watched the civilian areas of the station through the monitors. Aliens were moving quickly toward the shuttle bays, frightened but orderly. Among them, he noticed several humans moving against the flow, heading toward the command center instead of the shuttles. One of them was Junho, the captain of the Morning Star. His ship was still docked, having been delayed by engine maintenance. "Chief Daehyun," Junho called out as he entered the command center, followed by his crew and several other humans. "We heard the alert. Kryn battlecruiser?" "Yes," Daehyun confirmed. "We're evacuating civilians. You should get to the shuttles." "Or," Junho said calmly, "we could help." Daehyun blinked. "Help how?" "That's a military warship. Your ship is a cargo hauler." "True," Junho agreed. "But we're not alone. There are 12 human vessels currently docked at this station. Cargo ships, a research vessel, and a rescue ship that just arrived. We've been talking. We can provide support if things get bad." "Support?" Hyunwoo turned from his console, his expression strained. "Captain Junho, I appreciate the offer, but civilian ships cannot engage a Kryn battlecruiser. You'd be destroyed." Junho's expression didn't change. "Maybe, but maybe not. You said humans are survivors, right? Well, we don't run from bullies if we have another option." Before Hyunwoo could respond, another human entered the command center. This one was older, perhaps 60 years old, with graying hair and the weathered look of someone who'd spent decades in space. He wore the uniform of a rescue operations captain. "Commander Hyunwoo, I'm Captain Kyungho of the rescue vessel Safe Harbor," he said with a slight bow. My ship was en route to pick up supplies when we received your distress signal. We're positioning ourselves between your station and the Kryn cruiser. Captain, that's suicide, Hyunwoo said urgently. Rescue vessels aren't built for combat. You're right, Kyung-ho agreed pleasantly. But my ship was built to operate in Earth storm systems. Do you know what it's like in the middle of an Earth hurricane, Commander? Winds that can tear apart buildings. Waves as tall as your station. Lightning that strikes with the power of weapons fire. My ship handles that every day. Kryn weapons might be more focused, but they're not scarier than what Earth throws at us. Daehyun pulled up the scanner data on the safe harbor. His eyes widened. Commander, look at this hull density. It's rated for pressure that would crush most military vessels. That's because it needs to dive deep to rescue submarine crews, Kyung-ho explained. Earth's oceans have trenches deeper than some moons. The pressure down there is incredible. We built our ships to survive it, Young-mi, who had been monitoring the situation from the science station, ran a scan of the human vessels now moving into position around Harmony 7. Her 4 eyes blinked rapidly as she read the results. Commander, she said slowly, I'm detecting 12 human ships forming a defensive perimeter around us. According to their hull specifications, they're all overbuilt, significantly overbuilt. This cargo hauler has armor plating 3 times thicker than necessary. This research vessel has redundant systems for everything. Even their civilian ships are built like fortresses. Because they have to be, Hanul said, arriving at the command center. Ships built for Earth standards have to survive atmospheric entry through radiation belts, operate in extreme magnetic fields, and handle impacts from space debris that our tracking systems miss because there's so much of it. We over-engineer everything because anything less would fail. On the display, Commander Drakvin appeared again. Your hour is nearly up. I see you've positioned some civilian vessels around your station. Does this mean you choose to fight? This means we choose not to be intimidated, Hyunwoo replied, finding courage in the unexpected human support. Harmony 7 operates under coalition law. If you wish to trade here, you will follow our regulations like everyone else. Drakvin's expression darkened. Then you will learn what happens to those who defy the Kryn Empire. He raised one massive arm and the weapons on his battle cruiser powered up. Energy readings spiked across Daehyun's screens. They're targeting the station, Minji reported, her voice shaking. No, Youngmi corrected, reading her sensors. They're targeting the Morning Star. They're going to make an example of the first human ship. Junho didn't flinch. He simply activated his communicator. All human vessels, this is Morning Star. Looks like they picked us first. Remember, we're not trying to win. We're just trying to survive long enough for coalition security to arrive. Standard Earth storm protocols. Copy that, replied multiple voices. Drakvin fired a warning shot. A brilliant beam of energy lanced across space, designed to pass within meters of the Morning Star and terrify its crew into submission. This tactic had worked on hundreds of species before. The beam struck the ship's hull. The Morning Star rocked slightly from the impact, but the hull held, barely scorched. There was confused silence on the command center. That was a warning shot, Daehyun said. It should have melted through the outer hull. It would have on most civilian vessels, Junho said calmly. But the Morning Star is rated for atmospheric entry on high radiation worlds. That hull has to survive temperatures hot enough to vaporize most metals. A Kryn energy weapon is powerful, but it's not stellar radiation. On the display, Drakvin looked genuinely surprised. He'd expected terror. Instead, the human ship had barely noticed his warning shot. You dare mock the Kryn Empire? He roared. Not mocking, Junho replied over the open channel. Just not as impressed as you hoped we'd be. Look, Commander, we don't want to fight, but we're humans. Our planet tries to kill us daily. You think we're scared of weapons? Have you ever been through an Earth earthquake? A volcanic eruption? A tsunami? Your guns are dangerous, sure, but danger is just Tuesday for us. Something in Junho's tone made Drakvin pause. The Kryn commander studied his scanners, looking at the human vessels for the first time with actual attention rather than dismissal. What are these ships? He muttered. Youngmi was seeing the same thing Drakvin was seeing. Commander Hyunwoo, the Kryn scanners are trying to assess the human vessels. They're getting the same error we got. Commander Hyunwoo's office was filling up with confused and angry aliens. The Veteran Tech Guild had sent a delegation of 5 engineers, all demanding to examine the supposedly faulty scanner. 2 correlation diplomats were filing formal complaints about the delay. Even the station's maintenance supervisor, A hulking creature with 6 arms was there to discuss the growing crowd of curious onlookers blocking the docking bays. Hyunwoo rubbed his temples. This was becoming a diplomatic incident over 3 human traders who just wanted to sell fabric and metal. "The scanner is not broken," Youngmi announced for the 3rd time, her voice sharp with irritation. "I have run 17 diagnostic tests. Every component is functioning at optimal levels. The error is not in the machine, then what is causing it?" demanded one of the correlation diplomats, his scales shifting to an annoyed shade of purple. "The humans," Youngmi said simply. There was silence in the room. Everyone stared at her. "That's absurd," the diplomat said. "They're barely space-capable. They only joined the Galactic Coalition 40 years ago. They're primitives." Youngmi's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a veteran gesture of disagreement. "Primitive, perhaps, but their biology is anything but simple. I've been analyzing the data all night. The scanner is receiving contradictory information because humans genuinely exhibit contradictory traits." She activated a holographic display above Hyunwoo's desk. Complex biological data filled the air, most of it meaningless to anyone except xenobiologists. But Youngmi highlighted several key points. "Look at their physical structure," she explained. "Humans have the endurance of a pursuit predator. They can run for hours without stopping. But they also have the pattern recognition of a prey species, constantly scanning for threats. Their brains are wired for both hunting and being hunted. Many species have mixed traits," the maintenance supervisor rumbled. "Not like this," Youngmi countered. "Humans have opposing traits that should be evolutionary contradictions. They're social pack animals but also highly individualistic. They're omnivores who can eat almost anything, giving them prey species flexibility. But they have forward-facing eyes like predators. Their bodies are weak compared to most species, yet they have pain tolerance that rivals armored species." Hyunwoo leaned forward. "What are you saying exactly?" "I'm saying the scanner cannot categorize them because they evolved under conditions that don't match any known pattern in our database," Youngmi said. "I need to research their homeworld. Something about Earth created this biological contradiction." Minji had been standing quietly in the corner listening. Now she spoke up. "I already started that research, Commander. Permission to share my findings?" Hyunwoo nodded. Minji activated her datapad, sending information to the holographic display. A planet appeared, rotating slowly. Earth. It looked beautiful from space with blue oceans and white clouds. Peaceful. "I spent the night reading about Earth," Minji began. "At first it seemed like a standard habitable planet. Liquid water, oxygen atmosphere, stable sun. But when I dug deeper into the environmental data, I found something interesting." She pulled up a comparison chart. Every species in the Galactic Coalition evolved on worlds that fit into 2 categories. High-threat worlds produced tough, aggressive species. Low-threat worlds produced intelligent, social species. But Earth, she paused. Earth doesn't fit either category. It's both. The room leaned in, interested now. Earth has extreme weather, Minji continued. Hurricanes that destroy everything in their path. Tornadoes, blizzards, droughts, floods. The temperature swings wildly between seasons. There are regions where humans can freeze to death, and regions where they can die from heat, often on the same continent. Many worlds have weather, the correlation diplomat said dismissively. Earth also has dangerous predators, Minji went on, ignoring the interruption. Large carnivores with claws and teeth. Venomous creatures, parasites. Microscopic organisms that cause deadly diseases, and humans evolved alongside all of them. They didn't have natural weapons like claws or armor. They didn't have venom or camouflage. They survived through adaptation and tool use. Youngmi's eyes widened. "A Goldilocks death world," she whispered. "What?" Hyunwoo asked. "It's a theoretical concept," Youngmi explained, her voice awed. "A planet that's perfectly balanced between nurturing life and killing it. Habitable enough to allow complex evolution, but dangerous enough to create extreme survival pressure. We've never actually found one before. We thought they were too unstable to produce spacefaring civilizations. But Earth is one," Minji said, "and humans evolved there. The planet tried to kill them constantly, so they adapted. They became endurance hunters because they couldn't catch prey with speed. They developed complex social bonds because they needed cooperation to survive. They created tools because they didn't have natural weapons. They learned to eat almost anything because food scarcity was constant." The room was silent now. Everyone was processing this information. Ji-won, the medical officer, entered the office carrying a thick data pad. She looked exhausted. Commander, I've completed my medical analysis of the human crew. You need to see this. She uploaded her findings to the holographic display. Lists of biological systems appeared, each one highlighted with notes. Humans have redundant healing systems, Jiwan explained. If one method fails, their bodies try another. They can seal wounds, fight infections, even regenerate some tissues. Their immune systems are hyper-aggressive, constantly fighting microscopic threats. And their brains, she shook her head in amazement. Their neural plasticity is incredible. They can learn new skills throughout their entire lives. They can rewire their trauma responses. They can adapt to almost any environment given enough time. This is why the scanner fails, Youngmi said quietly. It's trying to classify a species that's designed to be unclassifiable. Humans didn't evolve to be the strongest or the smartest. They evolved to survive anything. Hyunwoo stood and walked to the window, looking out at the station's main corridor. He could see humans walking among the other species. They looked so ordinary, fragile even. Most aliens were larger, stronger, or more heavily armored. Humans seemed almost delicate by comparison. So they're survivors, Hyunwoo said. That makes them dangerous? Not dangerous, Youngmi corrected. Unpredictable. The scanner cannot assess threat level because humans can be anything the situation requires. In one context, they're harmless traders. In another context, they might be the most dangerous beings in the room. It depends entirely on circumstances. One of the veteran engineers spoke up nervously. Should we be concerned? If they're this adaptable, could they be a threat to the coalition? Before anyone could answer, there was a commotion outside the office. Raised voices echoed through the corridor. Hyunwoo opened the door to find Junho, the human captain, arguing with a security guard. I just want to know how much longer this is going to take, Junho was saying, frustration clear in his voice. We've been stuck here for 16 hours. My crew needs sleep. We have contracts to fulfill. This is getting ridiculous. The security guard looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, sir, but you're under quarantine orders until— Quarantine for what? Junho interrupted. Your medical officer already scanned us. We're not carrying diseases. We're not smuggling anything. Your scanner had a glitch, and now you're treating us like criminals. Hyunwoo stepped forward. Captain Junho, please accept my apologies. This situation is unusual, and we're trying to understand— Understand what? Junho's voice rose. That we're human. We've been part of the Galactic Coalition for 4 decades. We trade with dozens of species. This isn't the first station we've visited. Why are we suddenly a mystery? It was a good question. Hyunwoo didn't have a good answer. Minji appeared beside him. Captain, may I ask you something? How do you view your own species? Do you consider humans dangerous? Junho blinked, caught off guard by the question. Dangerous? No, not really. I mean, we can be if threatened, but mostly we're just trying to get by, you know? We work, we trade, we explore. We're not looking for trouble. But your planet is deadly, Minji pressed. Earth has extreme weather, dangerous predators, diseases. How did your ancestors survive? Junho shrugged. They adapted. They built shelters, made tools, formed communities. When something tried to kill them, they figured out how to kill it back or avoid it. That's just how life was. Still is in some regions. And that doesn't seem extraordinary to you? Youngmi asked, emerging from the office. Not particularly, Junho said. Every species survives their homeworld somehow. We just did what we had to do. That statement hung in the air. The casual way Junho dismissed the survival of a death world was in itself remarkable. To him it was normal. To every other species listening, it was terrifying. Hyunwoo made a decision. Captain Junho, I'm releasing your ship. You're free to complete your trade and continue your journey. However, I'm also forwarding all of this data to the Galactic Coalition Council. They need to know about this scanner issue. Junho's anger faded to relief. Thank you, Commander. I appreciate that. Can we at least dock for a few hours? My crew really does need rest. Of course, Hyunwoo agreed. As the human captain walked away, Youngmi turned to Hyunwoo. You're letting them go? They haven't done anything wrong, Hyunwoo said. The security scanner beeped softly as another ship requested docking permission at Frontier Station Harmony 7. Daehyun barely looked up from his console. He had been the station's security chief for 8 years now, and docking procedures had become routine. Thousands of ships passed through this station every month, carrying traders, diplomats, and travelers from hundreds of different species across the galaxy. Incoming vessel. Morningstar Human Registration, announced Minji, the junior security technician sitting at the station beside him. She was young, barely 2 years out of the academy, but she had sharp instincts that Daehyun respected. Daehyun nodded and initiated the standard security scan. The Galactic Coalition scanners were considered perfect. Built by the Vethran, the most technologically advanced species in known space, these machines could analyze a ship's cargo, crew, and threat level in seconds. In all his years working security, Daehyun had never seen the scanner make a mistake. The screen flickered to life. Green text appeared. Crew scan complete, species human. Threat assessment low danger, rating 2-100. Daehyun relaxed. A rating of 2 meant the crew was about as dangerous as a cargo of flowering plants. He reached for the approval button, then the screen changed. Red text flashed across the display. System error, confidence 0%. Daehyun froze. His hand hovered over the console. He stared at the screen, waiting for it to correct itself. The scanner ran another analysis. Again green text, low danger 2-100, then immediately after, system error, confidence 0%. Minji, are you seeing this? Daehyun asked quietly. The young technician leaned forward, her eyes wide. Chief, I've never seen that before. 0% confidence? That's impossible. The Vethran scanners are supposed to be flawless. Daehyun felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. In 8 years, he had scanned pirates, smugglers, and even a few war criminals trying to slip through the station. The scanner had caught them all. It had never, not once, displayed an error like this. He pressed the intercom button. Commander Hyunwoo, we have a situation in security. Within minutes, Station Commander Hyunwoo arrived at the security office. He was a calm man, diplomatic and practical, qualities that made him perfect for managing a station where dozens of alien species lived and worked together. He looked at the screen and frowned. Explain this to me, Hyunwoo said. The scanner says the ship's crew is low danger, rating of 2 out of 100, Daehyun explained. But then it immediately says it has 0 confidence in that assessment. It keeps cycling between these 2 readings. Hyunwoo crossed his arms. What's on the ship? 3 humans. The manifest says they're carrying standard trade goods, textiles, processed metals, some agricultural products. Nothing unusual. And yet the scanner can't assess them properly. Hyunwoo thought for a moment. Deny automatic docking. Order a manual inspection. Daehyun sent the message to the Morning Star. A few minutes later, a response came back. The human captain, someone named Junho, sounded confused but cooperative. He agreed to dock at the inspection bay and allow a security team aboard. News of the scanner malfunction spread quickly through the station. By the time the Morning Star docked, a small crowd had gathered near the inspection bay. Security personnel from various species watched with curiosity. A Vethran engineer named Youngmi pushed her way to the front, looking offended that one of her species' creations might be malfunctioning. Daehyun led a team of 4 security officers to the docking bay. When the airlock opened, 3 humans stepped out. They looked completely ordinary. The captain, Junho, was a man of average height with dark hair and a friendly smile. The engineer, Sua, was a woman with sharp eyes and grease stains on her uniform. The navigator, Taejin, was younger, carrying a data pad and looking slightly nervous. Welcome to Harmony 7, Daehyun said formally. I apologize for the inconvenience, but we need to conduct a manual inspection of your vessel. Junho shrugged. No problem. Is something wrong with your systems? We're investigating that now, Daehyun replied carefully. He watched as his team scanned the humans with handheld devices. The readings were bizarre. The scanners couldn't seem to decide what they were looking at. One moment they classified humans as a prey species, small and vulnerable. The next moment they registered them as apex predators with high threat potential. The biological markers kept shifting. Minji approached with her portable scanner, studying the readout with a confused expression. Chief, this doesn't make sense. The scanner is receiving contradictory data. It's reading them as intelligent and primitive at the same time, dangerous and harmless. It's like the humans are somehow everything and nothing. Youngmi, the Vethran engineer, snatched the scanner from Minji's hands. She examined it closely, her 4 eyes narrowing in concentration. After several minutes, she looked up with a disturbed expression. The scanner isn't broken, she said slowly. It's working perfectly. The problem is the subject. What do you mean? Hyunwoo asked. The scanner is designed to categorize species based on evolutionary markers, biological capabilities, and behavioral patterns, Youngmi explained. Every species in the Galactic Coalition fits into clear categories: predator or prey, high intelligence or low intelligence, dangerous or safe. But these humans, she gestured at the three confused traders. They're registering markers from every category. The scanner literally cannot classify them. Junho raised his hand like a student in a classroom. Excuse me, but is this about humans in general or just us specifically? Because I can call the human embassy if this is some kind of diplomatic issue. It's about all humans, Youngmi said, still studying her scanner. I need to run more tests. This is unprecedented. Daehyun looked at the three human traders. They seemed harmless enough. Yunhyo was asking if they could get some food while they waited. Swa was chatting with one of the security officers about engine specifications. Taejin was taking pictures of the station with an excited smile. Low danger. That's what the scanner said. A threat rating of 2 out of 100. So why did the most advanced technology in the galaxy have zero confidence in that assessment? Jiwon, the station's medical officer, arrived at the docking bay with her equipment. She was a specialist in xenobiology, trained to work with dozens of different alien species. Yunwoo had called her to conduct medical scans of the humans, hoping to find some explanation for the scanner's confusion. With your permission, Jiwon said politely to the three humans, I'd like to run some non-invasive medical scans. It would help us understand what's causing the technical difficulties. The humans agreed readily. Junho even joked about it. Sure, scan away. Just don't tell me I need to lose weight. My doctor already nags me about that. Jiwon ran her scans and her expression grew more puzzled with each reading. She pulled Daehyun aside and showed him the results on her datapad. Look at this, she whispered. Their biology is strange. They have redundant systems for almost everything. Multiple pain responses, extreme adaptability to stress. Their immune systems are incredibly aggressive. And their brains. The neural plasticity is off the charts. They can rewire their own thinking patterns. Is that unusual? Daehyun asked. Unusual? It's unheard of, Jiwon said. Most species specialize. They're either tough or smart. Fast or strong. These humans seem to be average at everything, but they have backup systems for survival that I've never seen before. Daehyun looked back at the three humans. They were sitting on cargo crates now, sharing snacks with his security team. Taejin was showing pictures of Earth to a fascinated alien officer. They looked so normal, so harmless, but the scanners told a different story. And in 8 years of security work, Daehyun had learned one important lesson. When the technology couldn't explain something, it usually meant you didn't understand the real threat yet. He activated his communicator. Commander, I think we need to investigate this further. Something about these humans doesn't add up, and I want to know what it is before we let this ship leave. Agreed, Yunwoo replied. Detain them politely. Tell them it's a standard quarantine procedure. And find me some answers, Daehyun. I don't like mysteries on my station. Daehyun looked at the scanner one more time. It was still cycling between low danger and system error. Whatever humans were, the most advanced species in the galaxy couldn't figure them out. That worried him more than any high danger reading ever could. Low danger readings? Hyunwoo guessed. Yes, but with zero confidence, Youngmi confirmed. The Kryn can't? The Kryn battlecruiser hadn't left. Not really. Commander Drakvin had moved his ship just outside the station's immediate space, close enough to maintain a threatening presence, but far enough to avoid accusations of direct aggression. He was waiting, calculating, trying to understand what he was dealing with. On his command deck, Drakvin stared at the scanner readings that refused to make sense. His weapons officer, a younger Kryn named Soman, stood at attention beside him. Commander, our scans of the human vessels continue to produce errors, Soman reported. The system classifies them as low-threat civilian ships, rating them between 1 and 3 on the danger scale, but then immediately registers a confidence level of 0%. Explain these errors, Drakvin demanded. I cannot, Commander, Soman admitted. The scanner is functioning correctly. The problem appears to be with the subjects themselves. They do not fit our classification system, Drakvin snarled in frustration. In his long military career, he'd faced dozens of species. Some were fierce warriors, others were cunning strategists, but all of them could be understood, categorized, and ultimately defeated through superior force. These humans, however, defied understanding. What do we know about their homeworld? He asked. Someone pulled up the data. The planet Earth. Class M, similar to dozens of other habitable worlds. Standard gravity, oxygen atmosphere, liquid water. Nothing exceptional in the basic parameters. Then why are there civilian ships built like military vessels? Soman hesitated, then displayed more detailed environmental data. Commander, when we examine the specifics of Earth's environment, certain unusual factors emerge. Extreme weather patterns, significant tectonic activity, high levels of dangerous predators and microscopic pathogens. The planet appears to be classified as a Goldilocks death world. A theoretical impossibility, Drakvin said dismissively. Perhaps not, Soman replied carefully. The data suggests Earth is simultaneously habitable and hostile. It provides the resources necessary for complex life, while constantly threatening that life with environmental hazards. Drakvin studied the information, his tactical mind processing the implications. So they overbuilt their ships because their homeworld is dangerous? Essentially, yes. Their engineering standards are designed for survival in extreme conditions. What they consider normal safety margins far exceed coalition military specifications. This information should have reassured Drakvin. After all, defensive engineering was not the same as offensive capability. But something about the humans' casual attitude bothered him. They hadn't seemed frightened when he fired his warning shot. They'd seemed annoyed, as if his weapons were merely an inconvenience rather than a threat. Send a communication to the human vessels, Drakvin ordered. I want to speak with their leaders. On Harmony 7, Junho received the communication request with surprise. The Kryn commander wants to talk? That's new. Be careful, Yunwu warned. This could be a trick. Or he's genuinely confused, Hanol suggested. She'd been coordinating with the human ship since the standoff began. The Kryn rely on intimidation. When that doesn't work, they don't have many other strategies. Junho accepted the communication. Drakvin's massive form appeared on the screen, his forearms crossed in what might have been a diplomatic gesture for his species. Human captain, Drakvin began, his tone more controlled now. I wish to understand something. Your ships are not military vessels. You carry no weapons beyond basic defense systems, yet you positioned yourselves between my battle cruiser and this station. Why? Junho considered the question. Because we were here and we could help. That's what humans do. You could help by being destroyed? Drakvin's confusion was obvious. Your ships are durable, I acknowledge that. But they cannot withstand concentrated fire from a battle cruiser. You would die, maybe, Junho agreed. But probably not quickly. And definitely not quietly. Every second we survive is another second for help to arrive. Every hit we take is another data point showing the coalition that Kryn intimidation has limits. You could win, Commander, but the cost and reputation would be significant. Drakvin's expression darkened. You speak of costs. Do you understand what war means? The Kryn Empire has destroyed entire colonies. We know, Junho said calmly. Earth history is full of wars and destruction, too. We fought each other for thousands of years. We understand violence very well. But we also understand something else. Sometimes the winner isn't the one who strikes first. It's the one who's still standing when the dust clears. Another voice joined the communication. It was Kyungho from the safe harbor. Commander Drakvin, may I ask you a question? Have you ever experienced a natural disaster? Drakvin blinked at the unexpected question. Natural disaster? An earthquake, perhaps. Or a massive storm. A volcanic eruption, Kyungho explained patiently. Events where nature itself becomes the threat. My homeworld has stable tectonics and predictable weather, Drakvin said, almost proudly. We evolved in a controlled environment. That stability allowed us to develop advanced civilization quickly. Earth doesn't have that stability, Kyungho replied. Our planet shakes without warning. The ground can split open beneath your feet. The sky can throw lightning and hail at you. The oceans can rise up and swallow entire cities. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. You can't negotiate with a hurricane. You can't intimidate a volcano. All you can do is build strong enough to survive it, and be stubborn enough to rebuild when it's over. What does this have to do with our current situation? Drakvin demanded. Everything, Kyungho said gently. You're a warrior, Commander. You're used to conflicts where both sides have intent and strategy. But humans grew up fighting enemies that don't have intent. A storm doesn't want to kill you. It just does, indifferently. So we learn to survive indifferent threats. Your weapons are dangerous, absolutely. But they're not indifferent. You'll eventually stop shooting because there's no strategic value in destroying civilian ships. A hurricane doesn't stop because you're tired. It stops when it's done. There was a long silence on the communication channel. Another human ship had arrived during the conversation. This was a colony vessel called New Dawn, captained by a woman named Jisoo. Her ship was massive, designed to carry 10,000 colonists in cryosleep to distant worlds. It moved slowly into position near the other human vessels, its presence somehow both peaceful and immovable. "Commander Drakvin," Jisoo's voice came over the channel, warm and grandmotherly despite the tense situation. "I'm Captain Jisoo. I've been listening to this conversation, and I'd like to offer you some information about Earth. Perhaps it will help you understand what you're dealing with." "Speak," Drakvin said, his tone suggesting he was humoring her. Jisoo transmitted a data package to the Kryn battlecruiser. "This is raw environmental data from Earth, not the sanitized summary in the Coalition database, but actual recordings from various locations over the course of one Earth year." Soman, the Kryn weapons officer, pulled up the data. His eyes widened as he began reading. "Commander, these temperature variations, this level of storm activity, the seismic records, what about them?" Drakvin snapped. "Commander, Earth's baseline environmental conditions would classify as a hazardous military operation zone by Kryn standards. We would require specialized equipment to safely operate in many of these regions. But according to this data, humans live in these conditions. They build cities there. They raise their young there." Drakvin grabbed the datapad and read it himself. "Temperature swings of 40 degrees in a single day. Hurricane winds that reach speeds capable of tearing apart structures. Earthquakes measuring high enough to collapse buildings. And this was normal. This was just daily life on Earth." "You're exaggerating," Drakvin said, but his voice held less certainty now. "I wish we were," Jisoo replied. "I was born in a coastal city that was struck by a tsunami when I was 12 years old. A wall of water 30 meters high hit us with less than 20 minutes warning. Thousands died, but we rebuilt. Because that's what humans do. We survive, we rebuild, and we keep going." Daehyun, watching this exchange from the command center, felt a strange sense of awe. The humans weren't threatening the Kryn. They were simply explaining their reality, and somehow that was more intimidating than any threat could be. "Commander Drakvin," Junho said, bringing the conversation back to the present. "You wanted to know why we positioned ourselves between you and this station. It's simple. We've survived worse than your weapons. Not because we're warriors, but because we're too stubborn to die easily. You could shoot at us for hours, and yes, eventually you'd destroy our ships. But by then, Coalition security would be here, and the entire galaxy would know that the mighty Kryn Empire needed hours of concentrated fire to destroy unarmed civilian vessels. Is that a threat?" Drakvin growled. "No," Junho said simply. "It's just math. Your weapons against our hull strength, divided by the response time of Coalition forces. The equation doesn't work in your favor." Another human voice joined the channel. This was Taejin, the young navigator from the Morning Star. He sounded almost apologetic. "Commander, I don't think you understand what you're asking us to do. You want us to be afraid?